Growing up, my life seemed pretty ordinary from the outside. My parents held regular office jobs that paid well enough to sustain a comfortable lifestyle in our cozy suburban home. I arrived first into the family, and 4 years later, my sister Harper was born, marking the beginning of subtle yet profound changes that I wouldn't fully grasp until much later. I vividly recall the morning Harper started school. Our mom was bustling about in the kitchen, a tune on her lips as she meticulously prepared Harper's lunch, complete with a heart-shaped sandwich and a loving note tucked inside. Harper's laughter filled the air, her pigtails dancing with each giggle as she admired her specially crafted meal. Meanwhile, I peered inside my lunchbox, finding nothing but the previous night's leftovers. A sudden pang of jealousy struck me. Tentatively, I asked Mom if I could have a heart-shaped sandwich too. Without even glancing my way, she dismissed my request, claiming I was too old for such things. And besides, we were supposedly out of bread. I bit my tongue, choosing not to argue, even though I knew she had just used bread for Harper's lunch. As time marched on, this pattern of favoritism only became more evident. Whenever Harper had a school event, our mom was always there, cheering the loudest, camera in hand. In contrast, she rarely attended my activities, if at all. One afternoon, while scrolling through Mom's Facebook, the disparity hit me harder than ever. Her page was a virtual altar dedicated to Harper, filled with images of her at recitals, winning spelling bees, and showcasing new outfits. My own presence was barely noticeable, relegated to the occasional blurry, partially cropped background appearance. Confronting Mom about the glaring imbalance on her social media didn't go well. She brushed off my concerns, claiming Harper was simply more photogenic. That remark felt like a slap. Was more photogenic just a euphemism for prettier or more favored? During these times, Dad became my sanctuary. He seemed to sense the inequity and tried to compensate with small acts of kindness, ice cream trips just for the two of us, or spontaneous drives. His efforts were the few bright spots in my increasingly overshadowed existence. However, as years passed, these moments became rare, and I often caught him with a look of resignation as he observed Mom doting on Harper. The favoritism escalated when Harper expressed an interest in piano. Mom's enthusiasm was palpable. She promised the best tutor, and soon, a grand piano adorned our living room, with Harper receiving lessons twice a week. Shortly after, I mustered the courage to ask for new art supplies, as mine were nearly worn out. Mom's response was dismissive, citing the cost of Harper's piano lessons as a reason we couldn't indulge my hobbies. This pattern of favoritism not only strained my relationship with my family but also left deep-seated feelings of inadequacy and neglect. As I grew older, these experiences shaped my understanding of love and fairness, leaving me to ponder the complexities of family dynamics and the silent battles often fought within the walls of a home that might appear perfectly normal to the outside world. Feeling my cheeks heat up, I tried to explain to Mom that my love for art wasn't just a passing fancy. I had cherished it for years, but she was dismissive, suggesting sharply that I should consider a less expensive hobby. Dejected, I withdrew to my room, struggling to hold back tears. It just wasn't fair. The disparity was evident in everything, even down to our wardrobes. Harper's closet was like a boutique, filled with designer outfits and the latest trends, while I made do with hand-me-downs and clearance rack finds. One day, while I was sifting through a bin of discounted shirts, Harper approached me gently. "Hey, Isabella," she said, her voice soft, "Grandma gave me some birthday money. Want to split it and get something nice?" I was taken aback by her generosity. "You don't have to do that," I replied, touched by her thoughtfulness. She just shrugged. "I want to. Plus, that green sweater you like would look amazing on you." That's just how Harper was, naturally kind and generous. It wasn't her fault that Mom showed favoritism, and I couldn't find it in me to resent her for it. Over time, Harper and I became closer, often staying up late to discuss Mom's puzzling behavior. "Why does she treat us so differently?" Harper once confided during one of our late-night talks. I could only shake my head, wishing I had the answers. Harper also stood up for me when needed. When Mom criticized my grades, ignoring the fact that I was enrolled in advanced classes, Harper was quick to defend me. "Mom, lay off," she'd snap. "Isabella's working really hard. You should be proud." Mom would look startled by Harper's bluntness, then dismiss it by saying she was too soft-hearted. Those moments when Harper acknowledged my efforts made everything else slightly more bearable. Another source of comfort was my grandparents, Mila and Mateo. Their home was a sanctuary, a world where I felt truly valued. Their living room told a different story from the selective showcase on Mom's social media. Photos of both Harper and me were displayed with equal pride, our youthful smiles captured in matching frames. One day, while helping Grandma in the kitchen, I asked her why she had so many pictures of me when Mom hardly had any. Grandma paused, her hands still in the dough. "Oh, sweetie," she sighed, "your mother has always been particular, but don't you think for a second that you're any less special." Grandpa Mateo's workshop was another refuge. The scent of sawdust and varnish, the soothing hum of his lathe, it felt more like home than my own house. I spent hours there, learning to craft beautiful items from simple blocks of wood. As high school graduation neared, I harbored a small hope that maybe Mom would start to see and appreciate me. But that hope was crushed when my parents announced they couldn't afford to send both Harper and me to college. "We just don't have the budget, Isabella. You'll have to figure something out," Mom said, avoiding my gaze. Distraught, I found myself at my grandparents' doorstep, tears streaming down my face. Grandma enveloped me in a warm embrace as I poured out my heart to them, telling them everything that had been weighing on me. Their comforting presence reminded me that, despite everything, I had a place where I truly belonged and was valued just as much as Harper. After I spilled my heart out, Grandma and Grandpa exchanged a look, one that I couldn't quite decipher. Grandpa cleared his throat gently. "Isabella," he began slowly, his voice filled with something I dared not hope for, "how would you feel if we paid for your first 3 years of college?" I blinked, stunned, half believing I had misheard him. "You would do that?" Grandma gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. "Of course, sweetheart. We believe in you," she said, her eyes warm with conviction. For the first time in a long while, a spark of hope ignited within me. With my grandparents' support, I found the courage to apply to a public university a few hours from home. As I loaded up my old Honda Civic, a cocktail of excitement and anxiety coursed through me. This was my shot, a chance to redefine myself beyond the shadows of favoritism that had darkened my youth. Driving away, I watched my childhood home shrink in the rearview mirror and made a silent vow to succeed, no matter the obstacles. The initial 3 years at college passed in a whirlwind of lectures, newfound friendships, and a sweet taste of independence. However, as the end of my grandparents' financial support loomed, the harsh reality set in. I juggled multiple part-time jobs. Morning shifts at the campus cafe left my hands perpetually scented with espresso, and afternoons were spent stacking books in the library or tutoring bewildered freshmen in calculus. One night, staggering past midnight, my roommate Olivia looked up, concern etching her features. "Isabella, when's the last time you slept?" I shrugged off her concern with a tired grin. "Sleeps for the week. Got a paper to finish." Surviving on vending machine snacks and sheer determination, I powered through. Whenever the temptation to quit gnawed at me, I'd recall my mother's dismissive attitude, which only fueled my resolve to push harder. It was during my junior year when Harper's call came. Her voice was unusually strained. "Isabella, are you sitting down?" An icy dread clenched my stomach. "What's wrong? Is it Grandma and Grandpa?" "They're fine," she hastened to reassure me, then hesitated before dropping the bombshell. Despite their claims of financial strain, our parents had managed to send Harper to Wellesley, one of the most prestigious and expensive private colleges. "I'm so sorry, Isabella," Harper sobbed into the phone. "I had no idea. I'll drop out, I swear. It's not fair." "No, don't you dare," I insisted, sharper than I intended. This isn't your fault, and you deserve this chance. But promise me you'll stay, okay? After hanging up, I sat in stunned silence, the weight of years of favoritism pressing down on me. I'd harbored a foolish hope that our parents would eventually see us as equals, especially when it came to something as crucial as our education. Shaking off the feeling of betrayal, I washed my face and prepared for another shift at the cafe. Catching my reflection in the mirror, eyes bloodshot, hair unkempt, but determination palpable, I muttered to myself, "Time to prove them wrong, Isabella." The next morning, still reeling from the revelation and the emotional toll it took, I mechanically scrolled through social media. A new post from my mom stopped me cold, a glowing tribute to Harper celebrating her enrollment at a prestigious university. The contrast, and her public pride for Harper and practical neglect of my efforts, stung deeply. Yet it steeled my resolve further. If nothing else, I was going to finish my education, no matter how hard I had to fight for it. My hands trembled so violently that I nearly dropped my phone as I read the Facebook post again. Each word from my mother cut deeper than the last, extolling Harper for her applied effort as the gifted child, while slyly dismissing me as the lesser. Overwhelmed by a storm of emotions, I found myself dialing my mother's number. Each ring sharpened my growing anger. "Hello?" Her voice was unervingly cheerful. "What the hell, Mom?" I blurted out, unable to mask my fury. "Your Facebook post, really?" There was a brief pause on the other end, followed by a sigh. "Oh, Isabella, don't tell me you're jealous of your sister's success." "Jealous?" The accusation nearly made me scream. "You lied to me." I shot back. "You said you couldn't afford college for both of us." "Well," she replied, her voice dripping with condescension, "talent needs to be nurtured, while mediocrity can cope on its own." Her words struck me like a physical blow. Mediocrity? Is that really all she saw when she looked at me? "Don't be dramatic," she huffed. When I confronted her about her dismissive attitude towards my efforts, balancing 3 jobs and college, "Oh, please," she scoffed. "Working as a barista isn't exactly setting the world on fire." Our conversation escalated quickly. Our voices raised in heated argument until I was shouting, and she remained coldly dismissive. Exhausted and shaken, I ended the call. An hour later, my phone rang again. It was Dad. "Isabella," he began sternly, "what's this I hear about you yelling at your mother?" A flicker of hope sparked within me. Surely, Dad would understand. But as I explained the situation, hoping for his support, it quickly faded. "Your mother is very upset," he said. "She's not feeling well because of your call. How could you be so ungrateful?" "Ungrateful?" I interjected, disbelief tinging my voice. "Dad, you lied to us. You said you couldn't afford college for both of us, but Harper's at Wellesley." There was a pause on the line, a moment where I thought he might finally see my perspective. But then he continued, "Your mother had some savings set aside for emergencies, and my education wasn't considered one of them." I hung up, then turned off my phone, sinking to the floor. I hugged my knees to my chest, feeling more isolated than ever. Dad had always been the one to attempt fairness, but now he was just another person who saw me as less talented, less worthy, just less. Life continued, and I buried myself in work and studies, barely giving myself a moment to breathe or dwell on the family drama. One night, utterly drained from a double shift at the coffee shop, I collapsed onto my worn-out couch and aimlessly flipped through TV channels. That's when I landed on a cheesy show about family secrets and hidden parentages. Tonight on Family Secrets Exposed, the overly dramatic narrator intoned, we uncover the shocking truth behind one woman's lifelong struggle with maternal rejection. I was about to switch the channel, disinterested, but the storyline snagged my attention. The woman on the show, referred to as Olivia, had always felt like an outsider in her own family. Her mother showered her younger sister with affection while Olivia received only indifference. The parallels were eerily familiar. As the TV show unfolded, Olivia learned she was adopted, which explained the favoritism and distance she experienced from her parents. Sitting upright on my couch, my heart raced as a wild thought entered my mind. Could I be in a similar situation? It seemed far-fetched, but the more I considered it, the more it seemed to make sense. My mom's overt favoritism, my dad's emotional withdrawal, and my persistent feeling of being an outsider in my own family. Compelled by a mix of fear and anticipation, I quickly searched online for DNA tests. My fingers trembled as I placed the order. When the kit arrived, I faced a new challenge. I needed DNA samples from my parents, and I knew they wouldn't willingly participate. It was then I decided to involve Harper, the only person I felt I could trust with this sensitive task. "You want me to do what?" Harper gasped over the phone when I explained my plan. "I know it sounds crazy," I admitted, "but don't you want to know the truth?" After a long pause, she agreed. "Okay, I'm in. But if we get caught, I'm blaming you." Harper managed to discreetly collect the samples we needed, snagging a few hairs from Mom's brush and swabbing Dad's coffee mug. Then came the agonizing wait for the results. When the email finally arrived, my hand shook so much I could barely click to open it. I braced myself for the possibility of discovering I wasn't truly a part of my family. However, the results revealed something even more shocking. I was indeed the biological child of my parents, but Harper, she only shared DNA with our mother, not our father. I must have reread the results a dozen times in disbelief. How is this possible? Did Mom have an affair? Did Dad know? My mind spun with questions as I tried to process the information. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was Harper. "Isabella, did you get the results? What did they say?" I took a deep breath. "Harper, I think you should come over. There's something you need to see." An hour later, Harper was next to me on my lumpy couch, her face ashen as she read the test results. "This can't be right," she murmured, her voice barely a whisper. I shook my head, sadness washing over me. "I don't think it's a mistake, Harper. Look at the confidence levels. It's pretty definitive." Tears welled up in Harper's eyes. "But that would mean Mom had an affair," she concluded. "Yeah," I acknowledged, the weight of our discovery heavy in the air. We sat in stunned silence, the implications of our newfound knowledge slowly settling in. Everything we thought we knew about our family, about who we were, had been irrevocably altered. In the days following the revelation, I was a wreck. I struggled to eat, sleep, or focus on anything. The secret weighed heavily on me, a crushing burden of unknowns and what-ifs. I decided not to tell Dad, at least not yet. I needed time to figure out how to handle this bombshell without causing more pain. The truth had changed everything, and I wasn't sure how we, as a family, could navigate the tumultuous waters ahead. Starting a conversation about the discovered truth felt impossible. How could I possibly tell my dad, "Hey, your cherished daughter Harper isn't actually your biological child"? It seemed surreal. But, as if on cue, fate intervened in a way I hadn't anticipated. It was a nondescript Tuesday when my phone lit up with Grandma Mila's name. A wave of warmth passed through me at the sight. My grandparents had always been a pillar of support. "Isabella, sweetheart," Grandma began, her voice laced with concern. "There's something you need to know. Your mother visited us yesterday. She asked us to change our will to disinherit you in favor of Harper. Of course, we refused, but Isabella, what's going on?" As I recounted everything, the overt favoritism, the college fund lies, the DNA test results, Grandma listened in stunned silence. "Oh, Isabella," she sighed deeply after I finished. "I'm so sorry. We had no idea it was this severe." Tears I hadn't noticed began to stream down my face. "Thanks, Grandma, for telling me and for not giving up on me," I managed to say through the sobs. After hanging up, I sat frozen, processing the weight of everything. It was clear then, no more secrets, no more lies. It was time for the truth to come out. The opportunity presented itself unexpectedly. Harper called, her voice easy as she explained that Mom and Dad planned to have just a small family dinner this year. That was my cue. Driven by a mix of dread and determination, I drove to my parents' home unannounced. My heart thumping wildly as I pulled into the driveway. Through the dining room window, I could see the perfect tableau: Mom, Dad, Harper, and even Dad's best friend Oliver, all gathered around the table. The idyllic scene was surreal, underscored by the cheerful holiday music floating through the air. I burst through the front door. Mom's face darkened immediately. "Isabella, what are you doing here? Your behavior lately has been absolutely unacceptable," she scolded. "Trouble?" I laughed bitterly, the sound more of a scoff than amusement. "Oh, that's rich coming from you. Tell me, Mom, how long have you been lying to all of us?" The room fell deathly silent. Dad looked baffled. Harper was visibly shaken. Oliver seemed uneasy, shifting in his seat. "What are you talking about?" Dad finally asked, confusion written all over his face. I took a deep breath, my heart sinking with the weight of the words I was about to utter. "I had a DNA test on Dad. I'm so sorry, but Harper isn't your daughter." The impact was immediate. Dad stood abruptly, his face contorted in shock and anger. Harper started sobbing, and Mom collapsed into her chair, overwhelmed by the unfolding drama. "Aurora." Dad's voice cracked, barely a whisper. "Is this true?" Through her tears, Mom nodded. "I'm sorry, Henry. It just happened. Oliver and we've been in love for years. I never meant for it to go this far, but when I got pregnant with Harper..." Oliver stood, attempting to interject. "Henry, I can explain." Before he could finish, Dad's fist met Oliver's jaw, sending him sprawling to the floor. As chaos ensued across the room, Harper looked utterly devastated. I wanted to comfort her, to reassure her that this revelation changed nothing between us. But before I could move, Mom's tearful confession sliced through the turmoil. "I've always loved Oliver," she sobbed, "and I couldn't help but love Harper more. She was a product of that love. Isabella was a reminder of a marriage I never wanted." The fallout from Christmas dinner was catastrophic. In the weeks that followed, our family dynamics imploded spectacularly, with Dad grappling with the dual betrayal and the painful revelations that tore at the fabric of our family life. The aftermath of the revelation was swift and tumultuous. Dad, betrayed by a wife and a supposed best friend, took decisive action. He filed for divorce with startling speed and pursued every legal avenue to reclaim what was lost. Driven by a sense of profound betrayal, I remember the day he called me into his lawyer's office vividly. The air was thick with unspoken emotions as he handed me an envelope. "Isabella," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "I want you to have this." Inside was a check. The amount made me gasp. "Dad, I can't." He raised his hand to stop me. "You deserve this, kiddo. After everything, it's the least I can do." With that money, I was able to pay off my student loans and even make a down payment on a small condo. For the first time, I felt a sense of financial independence and security. Harper, displaying remarkable resilience, made a tough decision herself. She withdrew from Wellesley, stating that she could no longer attend a school funded by deceit. "I'm going to do this on my own terms," she declared one day over coffee. She started working as a waitress and enrolled in community college, determined to build her life without relying on falsehoods or handouts. Watching her take these steps, I felt immense pride and admiration for her tenacity. As for Mom, the situation with her remained complicated. Dad, the grandparents, and I severed ties entirely. It was a painful but necessary decision for our mental health after enduring years of manipulation and lies. Harper, however, maintained occasional contact. "She's still our mom," she'd tell me in a quiet, conflicted voice, "even if she's not the best one." I understood her feelings but couldn't fully share them. The mother I thought I knew had vanished the day the truth was revealed. Time passed, and we all began to adapt to our new realities. Dad even started dating again, cautiously stepping back into the dating scene. He and I grew closer, bonded by our shared experiences of hurt and healing. Harper and I, too, became inseparable. The old wedge of favoritism that Mom had driven between us dissolved completely. We were sisters, bound by more than DNA. One evening, as Harper and I sat on the balcony of my new condo, sharing a bottle of wine, I found myself reflecting on all we had endured. You know, I mused, swirling the wine in my glass, part of me almost wants to thank Mom. If she hadn't been so awful, we might never have uncovered the truth. As painful as it's been, I feel like I know who I am now. Harper nodded, understanding dawning in her eyes. Yeah, I get that. It's like the fog has lifted. So, what's next for Isabella 2.0? I laughed lightly, feeling the possibilities of the future unfurling before me. God, I don't know. Finish my degree, I guess. Maybe travel a bit. The world's wide open. For the first time in my life, I felt truly free. The burdens of trying to earn Mom's love, competing with Harper, and never feeling good enough had all evaporated. Now, it was just the open road ahead, and I was ready to see where it would lead.